Alright my fellow agents, welcome back to the Gaming Brigade, and recently here at the channel some of you have reached out asking me to put together a few updated builds based around the ongoing Directive gear set because in my opinion, it's still one of the best ones we have in the game. Therefore today my friends, I want to take a few moments and highlight a few different variations that I happen to use on a regular basis, whether I'm running around the open world, playing Retaliation, jumping into Countdown, or even on some of the lower tiers of escalation as well. Now, as always, we're going to jump right into the details, and if you happen to enjoy this, do me a favor and hit that like button. It truly helps the channel out. And if you want to stay up to speed on all things Division, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button as well. Now, starting with the specialization, we're using Gunner, doing that for the typical reasons. You're going to get that extra armor on kill, you get a reload speed increase, you get some extra rate of fire upon kill, some extra weapon handling when you're in cover. However, the two primary reasons are because it gives me access to the Banshee Pulse. I'm going to use that the moment I roll up on NPCs. I'll explain why in a moment. And this also gives me access to the large pouch, which means I can have more ammunition in my primary weapon, and I'll show you that in a moment as well. Now, always remember to make sure you have your primary and secondary weapon activated in that weapon skill tree. That way you're getting that 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of which one you're using. And as you can see, my primary for this build is the GR9. Now I want to point out this is at expertise nothing whatsoever. You can also see there's a lot of room for improvement as far as the different attributes are concerned. You'll notice it also has the talent Sadist on it, and that is going to amplify weapon damage by 30% to bleeding enemies. Now having said that, I know a lot of players out there like to use the named LMG, the Carnage, but in my opinion the weapon kind of handles like shit. You know what I mean? Unless I'm just absolutely terrible with this weapon, which I could be. You know, I could spec into weapon handling, but I'd much rather stack that crit hit chance and crit hit damage. And you can see this has the talent Perfect Sadist, and that is going to amplify weapon damage by 35% to bleeding enemies. So I just recommend, try out a few different variations, see which one you enjoy using more, my friends. Moving on to the secondary and sidearm, I've got the Lexington as the secondary with the talent Sadist. Quick step for the sidearm. I'll talk about those items in a moment. Now moving on to the gear itself, you can see we're running the Overdog's gloves, 1 piece of Cheska, and 4 of the ongoing Directive gear set. We're running 4 so we get all of the gear set bonuses. 2 pieces 15% status effect, 3 pieces 30% reload speed, and 4 pieces rules of engagement. Shooting a status affected enemy will apply a mark, and killing a marked enemy grants a full clip of hollow point ammo for your active weapon, and half a clip of the agent's active weapon to the rest of the party. More importantly, the hollow point ammo amplifies weapon damage by 20% and applies bleed on hit. Now having said that, because we're wearing a piece of ongoing Directive for the body armor, we have access to the talent Parabellum rounds, and that is going to increase the hollow point ammo weapon damage amplification to 50%. And because this talent more than doubles your weapon damage amplification, you definitely want to use this body armor. Next we have the holster and the knee pads, 2 more pieces of ongoing Directive. You will notice I'm doing my best to stack crit hit chance and crit hit damage everywhere I can. Right after that we have the gloves, and they are the Overdogs. These are some of the best exotics in the game in my opinion. They have the talent Weakest Link, and that is going to amplify weapon damage by 30% to the lowest ranking enemies currently in combat as per the tier hierarchy. Now in the meantime, if you do not have these, you can use Contractor's gloves. And for those of you out there who are still trying to get the Overdog's gloves, I will leave a link to a video I posted a little while back walking you through some farming details. Last but not least, my friends, we have the backpack. It is the 1 piece of Cheska. That is going to give us an extra 8% crit hit chance bonus, and I'm using the talent Wicked. Applying a status effect increases total weapon damage by 18% for 20 seconds. Now I know another popular option is the Anarchist Cookbook, and as you can see, equipping this will give you that extra 10% status effects, and you also have access to the talent Perfectly Wicked, and that is going to once again give you that extra 18% weapon damage, but the duration is 7 seconds longer than the regular version. Now as far as the skills are concerned, I'm using the combination of the Banshee Pulse and the Reviver Hive. When we take a look at the numbers, you can see him sitting at 58% crit hit chance, remember the max is 60, and 126.3 crit hit damage, and keep in mind those numbers are going to be dependent on not only the gear you have equipped, but having a Shade Watch of level 1000. Now at this point, as promised, I want to show you another variation I love to roll with, and if I had to choose one of these versions, this is definitely the one I'd pick. Now my primary weapon is the Lexington, and you can see it's at expertise level 30. And for the record, this happens to be one of the few weapons I've actually leveled up to that point because honestly, it's way too expensive. God, I sound like my dad. It's way too expensive. And there happen to be only a handful of weapons in the game I actually use enough to even consider leveling them up. Now at this point, you cannot farm for the Lexington. It's one of those items that is linked to special events. And I promise as soon as you can farm for it again, I'll bring you a video right away. Now for those of you out there who do not have this weapon, I recommend using a Carbine 7, or you could also use a Police M4 with the same talent. I can promise that will still get the job done. Now, as far as this build variation is concerned, you can see I'm running 3 ongoing directive, 2 unit alloys in the Ninja Bike backpack. Now, equipping this is going to give you 3 core attributes. You get that weapon damage, armor, and a skill tier. You also have access to the talent resourceful, and that slots with any equipped gear set and or brand set item to fulfill a requirement towards unlocking a gear set's bonus. That simply means even though we're only wearing 3 pieces of the ongoing directive gear set, we do get that 4-piece bonus. Now, as far as the holster and the knee pads are concerned, these are the 2 pieces of unit alloys. That is going to give us that extra 5% rate of fire, 20% assault rifle damage, and because we're wearing the Ninja Bike, we also get that 3rd brand set bonus as well, which is 50% magazine size. And I'm telling you right now, having those extra rounds in your magazine, especially when that magazine is filled with hollow point ammo, I'm telling you, my fellow agents, you're going to be absolutely decimating NPC left and right. Hope this helped you out, my friends, and as always, questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know, and I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. On that note, I'm going to leave you with some gameplay footage and a few final thoughts. As always, I want to take a moment and thank you all for your incredible continued support. Please let me know of any other questions you have I did not address. Thank you once again for the privilege of your time, and as I mention at the end of every one of these, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone. Hello once again, my fellow agents. I hope you're doing well on this fine day. Alright, a few things I want to mention really quick. First of all, in the gameplay footage you are about to see, I do not have any global modifiers running whatsoever, and the main reason for that is to ensure that whenever you see this video, you know exactly what the build can do without any special events going on. I'd also like to once again mention there are so many different ways to roll with a build like this. You could use the version you're looking at on screen right now. It's great for solo players, or ongoing directive, the Memento backpack, the Salvo holster. And for those of you out there who want to use an LMG, if you go back to that first variation I showed you with the Cheska backpack, the Overdog's gloves, and 4 ongoing directive, another great option is using the blue screen LMG. So as I always say, take your time, make a build your own. I think that's all I got for this video, my friends. Now for the record, the build you're looking at on screen right now, this is the version I'm using in the gameplay footage. We got those 3 ongoing directive, Ninja Bike, 2 unit alloys, and I'll probably switch that 2nd skill to the Crusader shield just in case. And as I said previously in the video, if you do not have the Lexington, I promise you using a police M4 will totally get the job done. You can try to craft one and then get that talent wicked on there, or a carbine 7. If you happen to have another weapon you want to, recommend, feel free to do that in the comment section down below. And I can also promise as soon as we do have another opportunity to farm for the Lexington, I will let you know right away via a video. Chances are we are going to have a spring event coming up pretty soon, so hopefully you can farm for it then. Finally, as promised, I want to talk about the Banshee Pulse. The reason you're using that is because when you roll up an NPC, what I do is I roll up an NPC, I hit the Banshee Pulse, that puts those enemies under a status effect. Now, when you shoot those enemies under a status effect, it applies a mark. When you kill those enemies that are marked, you then get that hollow point ammo. At that point, the hollow point ammo, when you're shooting enemies, you're going to be applying bleed on all the enemies you hit. That procs the talent on your weapon and your backpack, all that good stuff, my friends. I'm looking out the window right now. It has finally stopped raining, so I'm going to go take the dogs for a walk. Thank you once again for everything, and I will see you in the next one.
Agent, I need you to kill those cleaners.
Hostiles are retaliating in Dumbo.